This is an open letter to Elon Musk with regards to the question of how best to help humanity, if that is the objective. I have a emotionally crippled cousin with some sadistic overtones, which I'm pretty sure could have been prevented, and he could have been a normal fellow if it wasn't for his growing environment, the environment in which he grew up in. And as I've heard you, that honestly you have said that one of your most difficult times in life had been dealing with your father, and that wasn't a great experience, and you still resent him for his, I guess, lack of wisdom in raising kids and his selfish behavior and blah 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 blah. And I know from my self-experience that I certainly I could have used a much better father figure in my life than what I had. So what one can conclude is that basically a genius like you, an average guy like me, and my emotionally retarded cousin, the one thing we have in common is that we could have used a much better parental figures in our lives than what we were dealt. So the solution, if we are looking for a solution for humanity, the first thing is that you have to civilize this humanity. Yeah, going to the moon is fine, going to the Mars is fine, but if you're taking cannibalistic apes from this planet and you're taking them to Mars, there's still going to be cannibalistic apes. And these cannibalistic apes come into being because of lack of proper parental figures in their lives. Now, you, me, and my retarded cousins are the best case scenarios of these parental figures who weren't wise enough to actually be parents. Their jails and institutions are filled, cemeteries are filled with people, young people, humans who had much worse parental figures in their lives than we did. Jails and cemeteries and madhouses and homeless people on the street, and daily, every day, on my daily interaction with the society, 90% of what I come across, what all of us come across, is that we see human beings who are very dysfunctional. And if you really dig deep enough, you find out that dysfunctionality is not their nature, it's their nurture. Their nurture has been faulty, so they have become dysfunctional in society, each in their own way, each in many ways dysfunctional in their society. So all comes down to that, again, 90% of the dysfunctionalities that we have in these, apish societies, from top figures in the politics to bottom figures cleaning the roads, they all are misfiring. They are dysfunctional, and if you dig deep enough, all of it goes back to, almost 90% of it goes back to nurture, not nature. So it's not in their DNA to be, this fucked up. this dysfunctional. It's their nurture that has made them this dysfunctional. So if you dig a little deep enough, if you dig a little farther, you come to notice one main characteristic of the modern society, which is producing so many dysfunctional individuals. I feel the nuclear family that we have created, that we have promoted and we have created, I think this nuclear family is the main problem with creating dysfunctional next generation, dysfunctional children, and eventually dysfunctional adults. Let's look at it this way. Human beings the extended family was a solution that humans being came up with. It was a great solution that worked for thousands of years, for hundreds of thousands of years, to create better balanced individuals, to create individuals which are better rounded, with less sharp edges, more functional than dysfunctional. In a way that these extended families used to, when you have a few old people in the family under the same roof, a few younger folks who procreate, what happens is that although the bride may be, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with an extended family. Extended family usually contains a couple of the grandparents, 2, 3, 4 grandparents, and then 7, 8 brothers and sisters living under the same roof with their wives and their children. Let's say 10, 12, 15 children, each couple having a couple of children, and they all live on the same roof. So the solution that these guys have come up with was quite simple. Although the bride might be 18 and she may starts reproducing right away after marriage, having her first kid at 18 or at 17 or at 16, or as the Muslims have it, it's like they say a girl is ready to reproduce, procreate from age 9 and the boy from age 12. Well, that is the case. It's biologically they're ready to reproduce, but the reality is they're not wise enough to raise their reproduction. So the extended family concept came into being to have best of both worlds, have young females reproduce and have older females under the same roof take care of their next generation or next generation, their grandkids, and raise them wisely. Not that, in other words, you use the biology, the fresh biology of a young female to reproduce, and you use the old wisdom of the grandparents to raise the kids. And the wisdom of the grandparents to teach the parents how to raise the kids. And this whole environment of this extended family, one thing that it does, it brings a lot of brains together, a lot of minds together. Another thing that it does is that it flattens a lot of sharp edges. It blunts a lot of sharp edges. So the result is that the individuals that come out of these, for better or worse, the individuals that come out of these extended families and extended family environment are better rounded figures. less dysfunctional, more functional, more rounded. And when you have a collection of these, you know, people of a society that are each, you know, they have grown up in extended family environments in which multiple adults were responsible for multiple kids, and they could all think together and come up with solutions, and you know, understand, and have old people present, their grandparents generation present to advise. All of this comes down to an environment in which a lot of, you know, things that young parents don't know, don't have a fucking clue, they can learn from each other or from their grandparents, their own parents, so their children can benefit from the wisdom, from child psychology to child behavior to child rearing, to all of it. And forget about children. I mean, in the teenage years of the children, again, all this, you know, wisdom of the parents have the wisdom of each other, their brothers and their sisters and their wives, and have the wisdom of the grandparents. So I'm saying all of this for what? I'm saying, here's the thing. We have the nuclear families, and we have found out that obviously from the level of dysfunctionality in the society, we are seeing that nuclear families cannot handle the responsibility of raising kids, period. Much worse than nuclear families, there are single parent families. Again, they cannot handle the responsibility of raising kids. I mean, having two young parents, or, you know, middle-aged parents who are overworked, and, you know, their minds are racing 100 miles an hour, busy with their works and their own life. And on top of that, with the mindset that people have nowadays, that young people have nowadays, that they want to actually enjoy their own life. They really don't want to care for children. They don't want to, you know, spend too much of their time caring for the next generation, because they want to enjoy their life, because, you know, we have modernized. Many don't believe in hell and heaven. They don't believe in afterlife. They believe in just this life, and consequently, what they believe is, let me enjoy this one experience I have in this life, and do not burden me with too much responsibility, because I want to, you know, experience the most that I can in this life. And they're not wrong with that. You know, reproducing is if you have to be 24/7 responsible for your reproduction until the reproduction is 18 years of age, basically you are either going to neglect yourself with regards to life experiences, or you're going to neglect your children. It's one of the two. There is no, you know, work-life balance. Fuck that. Not in the way the capitalist society is running people nowadays, that, you know, it's either work and experience life, or work and raise a family. It's not, you can't have work, experience life, and raise a family. That can't happen. It's just not enough time, not enough, you know, income to serve that purpose. So the nuclear family is not the answer. Obviously, the single parent family is not the answer. So you put all of this together, you find out, to better humanity before we leave this fucking planet, to take humanity out of this apish mindset, and, you know, have a civilized creature populate Mars and beyond. In order to do that, you have two choices. You have two choices. Either go back to an extended family format in the society, which is a stretch. It's not going to happen. People like their freedoms. One of the shortcomings of an extended family is that everything needs to be agreed upon on when you're living under the same roof, and when you have multiple people living on the same under the same roof in an extended family, there are many restrictions and boundaries in place that cuts back on people's freedom, which we know that you can't force people nowadays to cut back on their freedoms in order to be part of that extended family. So that's not the answer. Going back into extended family is not the answer. Although, if you look at the societies which are still continuing in somewhat an extended family format, like the Amish, like very conservative Mormons, although the Amish manage having extended families by living close to each other, one man, one wife, and their children, but they're such a close-knit community within small villages, small areas, that they can function as an extended family. People, children can count on multiple parents to take care of them, and children learn from multiple parents. And again, all the sharp edges are blunted in personality of the parents, and the wisdom of the elders are used to raise the children, which is a good case. Therefore, you have much less dysfunctionality in the Amish community than you do have in a regular modern society. And the Mormons have achieved more or less the same situation, extended family-wise, by allowing men to have multiple wives, in which case you have multiple adults in a setting of a family, multiple children and multiple adults, not just one or two adults, multiple adults, and the wisdom of the elders of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and all of that in a close-knit community, because they have to defend themselves against the outsiders who don't approve of polygamy. So the result is they also more or less create a little more functional human beings and less dysfunction. If you exclude the whole, their idea of polygamy, if you exclude that as part of your dysfunctionality, yes, that brings its own dysfunctionalities. But my point is having multiple adults in an environment to raise children, to be able to teach and learn from each other and use each other's wisdoms, so the children would not suffer, would grow up as better functioning adults. So my point is this: although there's still some practice extended families or extended family situations in today's world, it's difficult to, but again, as we know, Amish and from the Amish and from the Mormons, we know that if you go that route, extended family settings brings a lot of restrictions. As we know, the Amish have a lot of restrictions. So my point is this: we can't go backwards. And where we are standing with regards to nuclear family, it's not good. A single adult raising one or multiple kids at the same time that they have to make an income, it leaves the kids neglected. They can't raise civilized, intelligent, intellectual children. They can't raise civilized, intelligent, intellectual adults when there is a single adult available or there are two adults available. It doesn't happen. And as we know, the school situation in general is quite bad. The teacher pays not well, so what happens is you don't really get good people, because well qualified people go where the money is, and if the money is not in teaching, so they do not teach, they go do something else. That's, the more qualifications you have, the more you expect in return. So my point is this: nuclear family is not the answer, and we can't go back to an extended family. What's the solution? The solution seems to be having academies, boarding school type academies all around for all kids. And these academies have to be so good that, you know, it wouldn't be the question of forcing people to have to send their kids to these academies. In these academies have to be so good and free that people, you know, stand in line to sign up their kids. And it has to be boarding school, and boarding type, as in like room and board, and we take your kids and we raise them properly, for heaven's sakes. The slogan should be this: bring us your kids, we raise them properly, and you go have your individual freedom and experience your life as best you can. And you don't have to be burdened for raising your kids. You see, and that's the general idea. Now, details of it can be, you know, worked out by professionals. But the general idea is that you can't leave raising civilized, intelligent, intellectuals, individuals to single parent or nuclear family type of environment, because as we have seen by trial and error, that it doesn't work. 90% of the time it's not working, and you see individuals with a lot of dysfunctionalities in the society, and these are the ones who, without a criminal record, while those with more dysfunctionalities have filled our cemeteries and our jails and our prisons and our, you know, everywhere else. So with this level of incivility, with this level of and the problem is, I mean, when you look at it, for example, frogs. Let's give you an example of frogs. Frogs lay a lot of eggs. There is a lot of waste in the frog life cycle. There are thousands of eggs laid by every female and during every season, and it's like of the 1,000, maybe 10 make it, maybe not. This level of waste takes place within 6 months to a year of life cycle of a tree frog, for example. 6 months to a year is not a life cycle, but at least from, you know, egg to maturity, it takes maybe a year. But you have human beings who, from egg to maturity, it takes like 20 years. And having this wasted, it's maddening. It's crazy to, you know, have children and leave it to nuclear family to raise, and they fuck it up, and at the end it becomes a waste, not after 6 months, not after a year, it becomes a waste after 20 years. It gets shot in the street, or it gets shot in the battlefield over some cockamamie reasoning of, you know, territorial loss and territorial gains, and who's got the bigger penis, and or, you know, in the crazy house or in the prison, or just regular dysfunctioning in the society. This human beings are not frogs. This maturity cycle doesn't take 6 months, a year. It takes 20 years, and after 20 years, many of them go to waste. It's like 20 years of human productivity has gone in to feed and clothe and supposedly teach and shelter this individual, and at 20, done, finished, no added value to the society. It goes, you know, 6 feet under, shot in the street or in the battlefield. You know, or regular dysfunction in the society where he or she makes life miserable for himself and or for the people around him by just misbehaving, by just regular dysfunctionality, by being an asshole. These things can be solved only if you raise children in a controlled environment, supervised, controlled, wise, intelligently designed environment. Extended family had its own intelligent design by including multiple adults and the elders in the environment. Now we have to replicate the extended family model. We have to translate the extended family model into modern language. How can we translate extended family into modern language? And the only way you can translate that into modernity in the modern language is to have academies, free academies, because obviously you want to raise all your members of your society to be functional and civilized and productive. And to do that, you can't say, oh, if you have the money and pay such and such an amount of money, yes, you can send your children here, but if you don't, then the problem will not be solved. The functionality of the society depends on all pistons moving. You can't have half the engine fucking not moving and half the engine moving. It just doesn't work that way. However, we like to say that yes, though some deserve it and some don't deserve it. Well, the ones who don't deserve it are also living in the fucking same society. So, and if they're miserable, they make life miserable for you, who do deserve it, who you think do deserve it. And hiding behind walls of a gated community is not a solution. Just like raising a wall between United States and Mexico is not a solution. Solution is helping everybody, including everybody, within reason, and having the whole society function more or less, not just educating and teaching civility to a small portion of the society, and then the rest of the society, hey, they can't afford it, we don't need to teach them civility, and we don't care to make them functional in the society or not. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Either your society is a civilized, functional society, or it's not. You can't have a portion of society be civilized and functional, the rest of society Mad Max. So the point is this: having these excellent, well-designed, well thought of, intelligently designed and intelligently cared for academies to have young people go there from age 6 to age 20. Bring us your kids, you go ahead and reproduce, and by bringing us your kids, you can also go back and enjoy your life. And give them an opportunity to visit their kids. There's no issue with that. Okay, on weekends you can come and take your kids with you, or you can come and see your kids here, or whatever, however it works. But a boarding school type environment that is so good that even the rich kids, the rich people are, standing in line to sign up their kids. And the result will speak for itself. It's just, it takes a few years for everybody to find out that, yes, this is the best solution. You don't even have to force people to bring their kids to these academies. You just show the result, more freedom for the parents to experience life, and raising better, civilized, educated, intellectual children, members of society, and they see the result, and they will stand in line to sign up their kids. So what I'm seeing is that the the best you can do with your money, and people who, you know, have so much wealth, is to start these academies. Start these academies, and I'm thinking as a workforce, a lot of the workforce in these academies are going to be consultant for children. And I see on the daily basis, I see old people who are, you know, greeters in Walmart. And I'm thinking to myself, this old fellow would make a much better, this old woman or man or this old person would make much better consultant for kids, for youngsters, for teenagers than they make Walmart greeters. It's like we don't value the old people, and we are mispricing, mispositioning old people. Old people, you know, especially a collection of old people, older people have wisdom. You don't, I mean, a robot can be a greeter in the fucking Walmart, a robot. But the wisdom to raise a child comes from an old person. And if you have a collection of old people to attend the children, to be consultant, not even, you can have your teachers teaching, you know, math and geography and whatever else the children needs to read. Give that to young people who are well also compensated. But much of the work of these academies would be with, you know, psychology of the children and, you know, behavior of the children, and that will be left to elder generations, which was the case in the situation of extended families. But since we closed down the extended family situation, the extended family business model, and this has gone away. The value of the elder individuals in the society as the source of wisdom has been washed out. Sort of like, nope, you have some wrinkles, the only job you can do is be a greeter at Walmart, or, you know, stand behind the counter and sell cigarettes and gums. It just, it's crazy. It's crazy. You have kids going to waste in single parent families or in regular family, nuclear families, where both adults are overworked and underpaid and, you know, don't even have time to enjoy their own life, experience their own life, and also they have the burden of raising kids with no knowledge. Young couple, no knowledge, no wisdom, no experience. Here you go, raise 3 kids. Of course they're going to fuck up. There's no question about it that young parents, well, you want the age range that can reproduce. I guess this is what comes down to. The age range that can reproduce, that can have the best reproduction, is not the age range that can raise children properly, doesn't have the wisdom to raise children. The age that can reproduce best is not the same age limit that has the wisdom to raise well. So you want your 18 and 19-year-old, 20-year-old, you want people in their 20s to reproduce, but you want people in their 60s to raise these children. You don't want the 20s, people in their 20s to raise children, because they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And the people in their 60s, 50s and 60s and 70s cannot reproduce. So to solve this imbalance, since we can't go back to the extended family environment, the only solution is have young people reproduce, hand over the children to academies, and have old people raise these children. In that case, you may end up, you know, having a civilized society, a well-rounded society. You may have less wars. I mean, I have a feeling if Dick Cheney and George W. Bush were raised in such academies with wise individuals teaching them, consulting them, I can assure you, George W. Bush, I can assure you that Iraq war would not happen. I mean, I can assure you, it's sort of like it's a given. It's a given that if you try to, raise the individuals in the society, civilized, with an intelligent mindset, as intellectuals, as people, willing, that understand, that are wise, that, stupid decisions are not made over money, over greed, over, ego, over revenge. These stupid decisions are made collectively by individuals and followed by the collective because you're not raising proper adults. Because these nuclear family environments are raising shit. They don't have the capacity to raise proper adults. Because add to the fact that these young parents who can have children are young and dumb, add to the fact that they all have their own issues as well. These parents have their own issues as well. So they're young, they're dumb, they don't have time, and they have their own issues as well. Cemeteries are filled, jails are filled, battlefields are filled with the shitty reproduction of these young parents who are old now, who are greeting at Walmart now, but when they were young, they were stupid. They were given the, as they were stupid and young, they were also given the responsibility of raising children, raising the next generation. Now that they're wise, nobody wants them. They're greeting in the Walmart, and their children are getting wasted in the battlefield, and in jails, and in cemeteries, and in the streets. Are you fucking kidding me?
This is Whisperings.
I feel our best solution, Mr. Musk. I feel the best you can do with your money. I guess you love to do the Mars thing. Great, the electric car. Thank you very much. But if taking cannibalistic apes to Mars doesn't solve the problem, keeping the light of consciousness alive in Mars and making it multi-planetary, making the cannibalistic ape multi-planetary is going to it's not good. It becomes worse. Then if you don't solve the problem of raising better adults through proper attention to their growing environment, you're going to have you have some cannibalistic ape in this planet, and then you have some cannibalistic ape on Mars, and then you have some cannibalistic ape on the moon, and eventually these planets are going to start fighting each other over resources, over greed, over these things that that if people were raised intelligently, they wouldn't be fighting for. This sense of insecurity that forces people to accumulate more money and more resources and fight over money and resources, and this sense of insecurity that forces these cannibalistic apes to beat each other and kill each other because they feel insecure, they feel they have to keep their territory in order to be secure, and that will only go away if you raise intelligent kids. kids, you raise adults in a way that they are not so insecure, that they're not shallow, that they're not selfish, that they're not greedy, that they're not, you see, all these qualities are thought. They're not nature, they're nurture. You see, nature is, yeah, nature is greedy, but you have to nurture them into being civilized, into not being so insecure. And that only comes with good environment, teaching environment. And that good environment, you know, does not come with families, with nuclear families. We can't go back to extended families. We have to move on to academies. Free, well-designed academies. And you have an experience in this, Mr. Musk. You are, you know, you're not raising your kids yourself. Yeah, you spend some time with them, but you're doing exactly what I'm saying, that your children are being raised in you know, academy-like environment in which you probably have designed, or you have given it to professionals to design. To have the kids learn, be taught well by wise individuals. Well, you have to, the best thing to do with the kind of money you have is to start these academies and have other rich people donating, because this is the most important thing. This is more important than food. Some people said that yes, you should, you know, use your money to feed the world. No, 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 no. Feeding pigs is not going to make pigs human beings. Feeding cannibalistic apes, keeping cannibalistic apes alive is not going to change them into people of higher intelligence. So you have to put the money in raising them, not in feeding them, raising them. Start academies. Make them free and make them so good that even rich people will stand in line. I know rich people will stand in line because money is not the solution to raising good kids, raising the intelligent, civilized next generation, because a lot of rich people are raising shit, absolute shit. Many of them actually voluntarily pay money to send their kids to boarding school after the kids, you know, middle of the teenage years, the kids become wild. I mean, there is, even Donald Trump was sent to a military boarding school because the parents, apparently the parents no longer could manage him, because nuclear families are not a good environment to raise kids, especially nuclear families that are created by two young people. It's not at all. And you see, my conservative friends right now are going to jump up like their hair is on fire, stating that no, family is the unit, the sacred, the family is sacred, and this and that and the fucking other thing. No. Well, here's the thing, my conservative friend. On one hand, you say that all the responsibilities should be given to the parents, and the parents are responsible, and the family is important, and this and nuclear family is very important, and all parents should have the right to raise their kids however the fuck they want. Who? These fucking young individuals who don't know their ass from the hole in the ground. But then when the prisons get filled and the people are getting shot in the street and nobody is acting in a civil manner and the whole society is fucking dysfunctional, you blame the parents, my conservative friends. You want to give all the responsibility to the parents, and when inevitably they fuck up because they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, you blame the parents. You give all the responsibility to the parents and then you blame the parents. Well, you don't need to do that. You don't need to give the responsibilities to the parents, and you don't need to blame the parents. You take the kids into these academies, not by force, but by making them so good, and that even rich people, so good and free, that even rich people stand in line to send their kids to these academies, these boarding academies, which takes the burden of raising the next generation in the right manner off the shoulders of young parents who are good at procreation but not good at raising their procreation. They're not wise enough to raise their procreation. They will be wise enough one day. But right now that they're good at procreating, they're not wise enough at raising. So let them procreate, take the children in, put them in these academies, and have older people consult these children and raise these children with good wisdom. Or else you're more or less going the way of the tadpoles, going the way of the frogs. You create a whole bunch and then hoping that maybe one or two of them come out good, maybe not. Maybe leave it for next season. Except that it's very wasteful, because the maturity cycle of human beings is not 6 months a year, it's 20 years. And after 20 years, you end up by not caring and not paying enough attention, dealing with this matter wisely. After 20 years, you end up with a corpse or imprisoned. It's wasteful. It's a waste. It's waste.